What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Meathead Manual. I am Adam Garcia, the number one, the biggest meatball you've ever seen and stuff. All that jazz. Jeff is always my good buddy, my good friend, my good compadre, Mr. Andrew Harris. Hey, well, good evening, everybody. All right, so today we're going to be going over a couple things. Obviously, before we go into everything, I wanted to kind of just like do a little bit of a thing off and say that I've been watching the show Welcome to Dairy. It's the prequel. Yeah. And it is so good. Sorry, I've watched it. It's okay. It's pretty good. Okay, what don't you like? It's a decent show. Yeah. But it's not like, but it's a good show. I really like it. Yeah, I really like it. There's just a lot of, a lot of creepy and freaky stuff that happens in it. And I'm just like, I'm a huge fan of like horror movies and like scary shows, which is really like backwards for me because it will affect how I sleep. If you watch a scary movie late at night, you're not sleeping. Or like it's very interrupting because if they see something when they pop up, because I'm prone to night terrors. Okay. So like, if I don't do it right, then I will have a night terror and like, and Jess has definitely had like moments where she's had to be like I got out of bed because I was afraid you were going to start swinging. Yeah, you start swinging. Yeah, she's but with that being said, so like I've been watching that a lot, but also too, life has been life lately. Yeah, honestly, like I've been feeling really good about this. I've been, like for all the listeners out there and the people that are actively listening and watching and stuff. And again, I'm going to say thank you because, I've had a couple of people kind of come up to me and be like, "Hey, yeah," which is I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not. If it comes off like I'm being weird, it's just because I'm not used to this. Yeah. And whenever usually people are kind of walking up to me to ask me about stuff or talk to me, it's usually because they need help. They need help with something, or they're wondering, why people are screaming in the weight room. But like, so like, obviously, if you guys see us, come talk to us, obviously. But yeah, it's much. Yeah, I don't think not yet. But like, I definitely. It's very nice whenever people like walk. You've been listening to the podcast. That's definitely cool. You get like, oh shit, there's actually listen people come time. Dude, that's sick. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, with that being said, today, the topic for today is hypertrophy blocks. And this is something that is really important when it comes to powerlifting. Now, I want you to understand something, okay? When it comes to powerlifting, it's not brain surgery, right? A lot. Yeah. You do the lifts, do the main lifts. That's the key. That's like the cornerstone of every powerlifting training. And it's the three main lifts are exactly bread and butter, of course. Now, there is a bell curve, I like to call it. As a beginner, you can really get away with just doing the big three, and that will actually elicit a huge amount of gains and yeah, all that stuff. But you need to build a foundation of getting really good at getting the skills of doing those lifts very well. That's what any beginner should be focused on, is getting that skill set by being able to you know how to do those lifts as best and optimally as possible, and you know how to do it. You could do it blindfolded. You could do it, exactly in your sleep. You'll have dreams about it. Exactly. The biggest thing is that because a lot of people feel like, oh, in order for me to get strong, I need to lift a bunch of weight. I need to always be setting PRs. I always need to, in order for me to see progress, I need to see that
I need to see the numbers start going up. And don't get me wrong, the numbers will go up. The issue that I feel like that a lot of people start to feel that people don't actually consider is the fact that like strength is a skill. Get me what sense of that, and that's where technique work comes in. Strength in itself, the more you practice your lift, the better and more efficient it becomes, and the more efficient your lift becomes, actually, strangely enough, the easier it feels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I like to tell people that we're not necessarily training, we're practicing.
Exactly.
I think lifting is a practice. We're practicing the lifts. It's a different mindset. You know, if you go into the mindset of like, oh, I'm lifting to lift weight and get stronger and all this stuff, like it's a different mindset of going in. I'm going to practice this movement.
Exactly.
You know, because when you think about practice, you think about, okay, I'm working on mechanics, I'm working on making sure it's going to be how it's going to look on game day. You know, doing all these little things. So if you shift your mindset to it's a practice, you know, I think it plays better into your approach.
Exactly. So now the point of that going into the hypertrophy thing is as a beginner, yes, you can still do, obviously, you can still do the accessories. I still have a lot of my beginners, newer guys going in and doing full on accessory movements. However, their barbell movement is not, it's a workup of volume, but it's also too, it's very specific over what I want them to do and what I want them to practice. Now, at the same time, and like I was saying, it's a bell curve, right? So at the beginning of this, of your weightlifting or powerlifting journey, is the practice, the basics, building on the foundation. You can do accessories afterwards, but you can get so much out of just doing the big three. So much so that your accessories don't have to be too much. There's not too much nuance when it comes to your accessories going into your as a newer person.
Yeah.
But then again, as the bell curve starts to come up, you start to become an intermediate lifter. It's now getting to a point where there needs to be a necessary amount of volume for your weight for your big lifts. However, and your accessories and the muscle that you build, then that becomes more of a playing factor, right?
Yeah.
Hypertrophy blocks. Technically, if most of the time, most powerlifting, if you're going to be working around in your main lifts, you're going to be working around ranges of 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. Usually, at least for my clients, depending on the amount of volume I want them to work with, they'll go into rep ranges of 6, 7, even 8. But for the most part, rep ranges between 1 and 5, and sets of 2 to 3, right? 2 to 3 sets. Now, when it comes to your accessories, that's when it becomes like, I always call it cap switching. You put your pockets just down on you raise your arm, you grow. Yeah. And you get the barbell in your back, or you get the barbell in your hand. You go down, you lift some heavy weight. But then after that, once you hit the accessory room, that cap takes off and you put your body weight cap on.
Yeah.
And now I'm not sitting here being like you
go full Chris Bumstead.
Exactly.
Crazy hypertrophy workouts.
But exactly, because here's the thing. I think we've addressed this a couple of times is if you have really been pushing it with your max lifts, if you wanted to even try to have the same type of intensity as a bodybuilder in your accessories, good luck.
This is going to be tough.
And like for me, how I kind of mitigate that was after I got done with my main movement, I would wait maybe about 10, 15 minutes and like sit and eat or drink something. Yeah, add some carbs in it to kind of like allow myself to get my blood sugar back up and then go and hit my accessory.
Yeah.
But the point of it is I see this a lot. And this is something I hope you guys that are listening don't fall into. More times than not, you can tell if a person walks up to you and goes, "Oh yeah, my training days last anywhere from 2 to 3 hours," and I'm going to caveat this. I'm guilty of this sometimes too, especially as a coach. If they're like my lifting days, they usually last anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. I go, how much of that is talking?
Yeah. What are your rest periods look like?
Yeah,
Between sets, how long are you waiting? Because that's one of the things, I teach people when they first start lifting, the difference between strength sets and hypertrophy sets, which is usually, of course, we got rep range and all stuff, but the big one is rest periods. Hypertrophy rest periods, if you're resting more than 2-3 minutes, you're not doing hypertrophy, you're doing strength. Because the big difference is hypertrophy, you're trying to just beat the muscle down and keep working it over and over again. So in order to do that, you have to keep going. So you shouldn't be resting that long because you want to keep that muscle taxed. That's the idea. Whereas with strength training, you're trying to rest over 3 minutes because what that does allows your muscle to fully recover, and you're going in at 100% every time you go and do a lift.
yeah,
And so that's going to, they scientifically proven this. They've done tests. And when you're able to allow yourself to rest in between sets and you're able to come into the next set with full rest at full strength, you're able to elicit more strength over time. The shorter rest periods, they found, build more muscle over time.
yeah, exactly. And so, like I take for instance, one of my clients that I work with, she's an IFBB pro.
Mm-hmm.
She will rest between first sets anywhere between 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And beforehand, I used to be like, I only need about 3 minutes until I worked out with her. I trained with her. I was like, yeah, I want to do, like, she was like, okay, so she actually like sat she's like, we're going to do the accessories that Jen programmed for you, and we're going to do it together. And I was like, all right, then when I tell you I needed every 5 minutes to fucking rest, I'm telling you, and it's because, so here's the thing, is after I got done with my main movement, I made sure to do exactly what I did. I hung out for a second, just like, all right, I'm good. I have the end go. Let's go. And so once we started, again, it's the big two: constant tension, right? The constant tension, actually big three: the constant tension, the slight pause at the bottom for the deep stretch of the eccentric, but the hold at the top of the contraction. Now, mind you, some people say that you don't really need that. Others say that you don't really need a lot of the eccentric. Here's my thing. And this is purely anecdotal on my, and this is how my brain thinks. The tendon of your muscle and the tendon of your muscle gets stronger under deep ranges of motion.
Yeah.
Right? So, in my opinion, as a strength athlete, why not emphasize and train that? Because guess what? When you're doing the big three movements, your tendons are going to be at the most, not just stretched, but the most critical point of
potential break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So why not really train those deep eccentric portions? You know what I mean? And get as much tension. Yeah, okay, I may not be lifting as much weight. I get that.
But you still are building up that tendon strength.
That's what I'm looking to.
Yeah,
exactly. Now, with that being said, also too, because of how she trains, I didn't need that much fucking weight because it was absolutely fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
Even Jen looked at my numbers and was like, what is this? Like, I was like, I trained with Marilyn. And she was like, oh, this makes sense. But
yeah.
So with that,
it's a whole different mindset.
Exactly.
Bodybuilding. And so to caveat off of what you're talking about with that is also one of the big things you're doing with the squeezing at the top and all that is you're building a really good mind to muscle connection, which is like what bodybuilders are great. So bodybuilders are great at that. That's what makes them so great, because they're able to tell their body, this is the only muscle I want to use right now. And they build that mind to muscle connection over those doing those things like on a bench. If you're squeezing that chest, be able to squeeze that chest, that's what's building that mind muscle connection.
Exactly. So, for those that are listening, what is the point as a powerlifter? What is the point really of building more muscle? Now, the reason why is because I remember at one point when I was like coming up, I saw some powerlifters that like were like, they didn't really look. They looked like they lifted, but they weren't as big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's like it confused me because it's like, how can someone who looks like this lift so much more than your IFBB pro bodybuilders? And this the reason the point of it is the muscle size itself, it plays a part, but it's I guess it's not as hammered as you need to be for the CNS to actually elicit a signal to allow the muscle to contract in order for you to be able to lift a weight.
Well, the fundamental ways that powerlifters or strength athletes build muscle versus bodybuilders, the actual training builds different types. Well, not there's types of, but like different visual effects with the muscle.
Yeah.
So they've done a lot of research on this. So strength training, it's going to be a more denser, harder muscle. That's why like most powerlifters and stuff, you walk around, you always look like you're big. Whereas like bodybuilders blow up. Like when they do a workout, they like poof out. So that's because their muscle is usually called softer. I don't say softer, but like more larger. So just the way it forms, it's naturally larger, but it's not as dense as a strength athlete's muscle.
I would assume also too that when it comes to bodybuilding workouts, or at least not workouts, but bodybuilding in general, the muscle itself is probably filled with a lot more water, a lot more nitrogen in itself, like glycogen source and all that.
It's not really even that. It's literally the way that muscle is built. We're doing the different styles of training.
Gotcha.
So it's literally it just builds bigger instead of more denser and hard.
Gotcha. Okay. So
that's why then when you do get the pump for bodybuilders, they can grow a lot more, or the appearance to be a lot bigger. Whereas powerlifters, we don't really get much of a pump because the muscle's so dense, it's not really going to blow up like that. But it's stronger.
Yes.
So it's capable of more. So it's just a different way the body shows up in the different training sessions.
Yeah. So it's like, in a sense, it's like, it's the difference between like, rolling around in a Hummer to rolling around in kind of like a suit.
With this,
It's like, this is in my head. This is how it's played in my head. Just follow me. Just try it. And it's like bigger doesn't always mean stronger.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking like the four cylinder engines, the Japanese engines that get over 1,000 horsepower out of. You can get a lot of small blocks, but then you have like the big blocks, and they're like pushing like 500-600 horse.
Yeah.
Kind of. What you're trying to.
See, I got you. This is why you're here.
And it's because I bet it was just great looking.
See, out of all of it, so it's like I kind of like, in a sense, have you ever been around like a person, like a caretaker who is like who has to take care of someone with dementia?
Yeah.
It's kind of
there to translate.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Dementia.
cool. So I'm just gonna spit out some stuff. So I'm gonna be honest with you, some of these actually okay. So, however, there is going to be there is also science behind the fact that in order for those neural connections to also be able to perform a harder contraction, a bigger muscle will definitely help.
Yeah.
In a sense. So yes, at first the squat, bench, and deadlift started helping, but then after a while, the muscle itself aren't strong enough to hold position or aren't strong enough to be able to fire, or they're not able to fire the actual needed signals in order for them to contract hard enough to actually provide that actual go and flex and stuff. So the accessories after that, and the reason why I'm like, okay, so you got to treat it like a bodybuilder is because the bigger the muscle, right, the more potential for there to be a better strength through your CNS. So what you would do is you go through, you go, all right, build, 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 build. You build and build and build and build, and after a certain time, after your a certain a couple of hypertrophy blocks, you come back to strength. Or if you do it right, you can actually do both at the same time. But you come back to it, and then as you're peaking, you now start to place more neural pathways and the ability for your CNS to be able to contract those bigger muscle fibers harder to then provide a stronger lift. Right. So that's the importance. That's the true importance of why we look at things like
well, you look a lot at maybe some of the top powerlifters now versus what you think a powerlifter looks like. You know, you got like Nicholas Dupree, on Hack, and Frisbee. Like they could also do bodybuilding.
oh yeah,
If they want, and some of the prototypical powerlifters isn't necessarily what we're seeing as much anymore from top athletes. And then you see all of those guys who are a lot smaller and that are lifting a ton. They all are pretty ripped for their size, and they're lifting a ton of weight. So we're seeing a lot more of kind of a hybrid athlete and powerlifting at the top.
yes. So and it also too is, and it's something that I really enjoy. And mind you, again, for those of you that actually know me in person or see me in person, I mean, sure. But the thing about it is, it's gone are the days where people could say, "Oh, well, I'm not really focusing on trying to lean out. I'm a power lifter." So it's like, hey, man, like to go off of what you were saying exactly was like even the powerlifters that I grew up with, that I grew up watching, Kevin Oak, Dan Green, Konstantin Konstantinovs. For those of you that don't remember who Konstantin Konstantinov was, he was a Russian powerlifter. He coined the phrase, "This is my fucking lift." He always did lift his with and the dude was extremely jacked and extremely shredded.
I got nothing to talk to him about.
He passed away. He got, and it's like, oh, did he die because of health reasons? No, he got stabbed. He got no fights.
Typical Russian.
Dude, stabbed.
That's a Russian.
Constantine, dude. But it's like, it's the truth. It's like gone are the days where people used to believe that it's like, oh, powerlifters are going to be, it's like, and like nothing against that whole mentality. But Louis Simmons was definitely one of the bigger proponents of that, where it's
more mass, more weight.
Yeah. Mass moves mass.
Yeah.
That was their huge thing. So they were huge.
You look at a lot of these guys that came out of the other side, none of them were like that fat.
No.
Like, no.
Well, that's because, and that's
also this the training style that he pushed. They were pretty intense. Like for AJ talking, like if a training session took more than an hour, Louis would be mad.
Yeah.
No, we're going through this.
Yeah.
We're pushing.
And also too, yes. The biggest thing also too is that like, and that's going to go into our second portion of the show. A lot of them did a version of cardio, which was called GPP.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them were in shape.
Yeah.
Though they didn't look at it. Like, don't get me wrong.
And they didn't advertise it like, oh, hey, we'll do all this stuff. No,
Exactly.
But they did it.
They did. And they were in shape. They moved and they did everything that they did. But even then, it's like even you can look at old pictures of Dave Tate. You can look at old pictures of Chad Hikes, and a lot of them, yeah, they were definitely like, they probably were in shape, but again, they were like, oh, please, big fat guys.
Yeah.
But
I would think so. also on top of the importance of doing a hypertrophy block is, kind of like what I'm going through right now, is sometimes you just need a little break from powerlifting. And just to get your mind right, mentally, you just need a little bit of a break. Right. Because it takes a lot, especially when you get to the higher levels and, your lightweight is still 400 or 500 pounds. That takes a lot out of you when you're doing that constantly. So like, you have to give yourself a little bit of break mentally, your body a little bit of break. So that's when going into a hypertrophy block is good for your mind to be able to go, okay, well, we're not squatting today or dealing today, but we're going to go, kill our legs, like set our back.
Exactly. And it goes to show that too, also, because, as you start to go into it, a lot of times, geez, sorry. Um, so going back, the point of it is that hypertrophy blocks, they have their point, right?
Yeah.
So what would it look like if you wanted to push up hypertrophy block? What would it look like? So, depending on, again, if the person is newer, a lot of their volume would be taken up into their main movements.
Yeah.
They might have 2 or 3 accessories afterwards, and then after that, it's like, hey, go.
Yeah.
Right. And strangely enough, like in the bell curve I was talking about, is at the beginner and the advanced have a very close, it almost looks the same.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's like, but except the limits are completely different. The beginner has not that many loads, so you can not that much load, so you can push the volume of the barbell movement, but they have 2 or 3 accessories, maybe 4 if they have the ability to get whatever. And then they go home. The advanced lifter has a little bit less barbell volume, but it's like, again, 5, 6, close to 700 pounds of weight moved. And then once your main movements are done, you go into the accessory room, you have 4 accessories and you're done.
Yeah.
Right? So now here's where the intermediates come in. The intermediates, you have to actually really fine tune how much volume that they get underneath the bar to how much they push in the accessory room. Mm-hmm. Whenever I work with someone who isn't more closer to an intermediate like yourself, pushing into more of the advanced, trust me, it's it's a high intermediate, but and so you'll see that and it also too, it depends on how much they're able to handle, right? So the more intermediate that as they start to get pushing into more of an advanced lifter, they can handle just a little bit more accessory volume.
Yeah.
Right. The big thing that I like to do, and this is something that for those of you that are coaches, if you're trying to look for a little bit more of I just want to make sure that they get a little bit more volume when it comes to this, but I don't want to get over fatigue. Mm-hmm. Body weight fail sets. Okay. Huge. Deficit push-ups after everything is done, 2 sets of failure, or pull-ups, 2 sets of failure, stiffy squats, 2 sets to failure, just stuff like that. Those at the very end of the workout to just really just destroy your, whatever they need to, but it's not so much a stimulus to fatigue. The stimulus to fatigue ratio is not as bad, so they can still come in and do more or do other stuff the next day. Exactly.
Yeah, and so when you're talking about volume and all that too, is something you got to remember with programming and progress is the idea is that the volume is picking up week over week. Exactly. To progress for a week. And that's kind of the idea that you're trying to accomplish there, but you also got to figure out, right, how much can this athlete handle and I'm able to build it up over time and build up that capacity for higher volumes.
Yeah.
And so that's where, as the coach, you kind of got to figure out what's that sweet spot each week, where it's like you're pushing the volume over time, but not destroying your athletes where they aren't able to handle it by the end.
Exactly. And more times than not, if, for, any of the coaches that are out there that are listening, during this time when you are trying to push a little bit more hypertrophy, a little bit more volume, trying to get them a little bit, not just because the beautiful thing about the hypertrophy blocks too is because the volume is fairly high. If you cut the rest times just a little bit, that's some cardiovascular training too.
Oh, yeah.
So, with that being said, for any of you coaches that are listening, also remember too, and this is more of the mentality say, you will very much see what kind of lifter that you're dealing with. I mean, obviously, in your in-doc, when you actually have someone fill out your in-doc film, you kind of have a sit down with them, you kind of see what kind of person they are personality-wise, but during hypertrophy and volume blocks, you will definitely see what kind of lifter you have, that you have in with you. Because like you either get one or two, you either get the guy or the girl, excuse me, the lifter. You get one lifter that will do everything, listen, all that stuff. They won't complain, but they will definitely push themselves completely, and they will never tell you if what you're doing is too much.
Yeah.
Then you have the other opposite side, this other lifter that will complain about everything, tell them that what they're doing is boring, it's not like what they thought they were going to do, blah, 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 blah. I implore all of you to do is not so much ignore this person. That person is just that lifter is being a little bit more neurotic. So you kind of have to play a little bit more into the emotional side and kind of be like, listen, I understand what you're saying, but I need you to be on board with me. I need you to
Just trust me.
Now, yeah, get the trust me on that lifter, but the other one, you got the lifters that are sending you the videos, sending you the numbers, but they're not really telling you much outside of that. Really bug them. I hate to say it, you got to really bug them because you'll come at them and be like, but yeah, how does that go? And they're like, oh yeah, I failed that other one. And you're like, what do you mean? I didn't. They're like, yeah, that was hard as much. That's rough. And you're like, what? Why am I just hearing that now? They're like, oh, I mean, I just assumed that's how you wanted it. You're like, no, I need it. You're telling me. That there's a word of advice for you guys. But when it comes down to it, also too, when you're building these accessory programs when you're building these hypertrophy programs or hypertrophy blocks, the best advice I heard was start out low. If they come at you like, oh yeah, the first week was so easy, good. Okay. Then you slowly either add a couple reps, add a set, or go up in weight just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was tell people all right, we're starting off. It should be fairly easy because it's going to pick up week over week over week. So it's if you're going in well, I couldn't hardly complete the steps to start off. There's no room to progress into it.
Yeah. The word of advice I got though, I have to say, it's exactly what you were saying. It's it's better to start out light and easy and then get harder than start out really hard and try and backtrack and find.
Because then honestly, then you get into the psychological effects that you could do to a lifter where it's oh, last week you had me do this. Why are we going lighter this week? And then now it's now you're building that I'm more confident in me and that whole psychological effects that you can have with the lifter. And you want to try to avoid that by making sure that it's appropriate to the amount that they're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
And not just slowly I'm going to destroy you.
Probably also too, I will stand by this, and maybe it's probably it's probably a bad mindset to have. This is a hot take, but because I used to be that way.
Yeah.
As a coach, I used to be like, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to get you to a point where you're going to look at me and go, fuck, that was hard.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I used to think, oh, hard meant I was doing something right.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
What do you,
I guess. Damn you.
I'm sorry.
I think it was the first time. Maybe it's the first episode probably we had
Yeah.
somebody come in.
It's happening at my apartment complex, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good kitchen.
This isn't my kitchen. I wish it was my kitchen. This would be a nice fucking kitchen. But so with that being said, now what we're looking at is crap. I like
The rest trip.
because when I was first yeah,
Expansion, yeah.
and I wanted to make things super hard and try and get it to a point where people are like, oh, he has me coaching that he's coaching me through this and doing this, and it's really hard, so it must be working.
Yeah.
Whereas no, what we're looking at is I want you as my athlete to come up to me and be like, hey, that was actually fairly easy. I'm like, okay, because then we can build from that. And also too, after building from that, you can also too, you can find that some of the stuff that yeah, it's gotten harder, it's more challenging, but what I'm looking for now is challenging. I don't want it to be so hard that
Yeah.
because what'll end up happening is that A, you'll get burned down. B,
Fail and stuff.
it's not sustainable, right? And the last thing, which is what we don't want, is possibility of injury, right? It can still be challenging. It can challenge you to be like, wow, all right, I really had to dig deep for that last one. That's fine. But what I want more than anything is for you to be able to walk out of the training session and be like, I feel good. Like that was hard, but it was good.
That's actually like so something that I've found that I don't like with a lot of the online, lifting world is like, oh, I gotta like if I didn't walk out of there in a wheelchair, I didn't do good enough. And it's like, no, that's bad. Like the workout, you should act like you should actually feel better leaving. Like that's kind of the goal. Is like I feel good, and the next day you should be like, oh god, I'm sore, I can't hardly walk. No, that means you overtrain. You want to go like, okay, I can feel the muscles I worked. I'm still functional. Because then you need to be able to go in the next day and still perform, and the next day perform. And if you're too sore, you're not able to do that.
Exactly.
I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have is like they base a workout on how hard it is. And they think that that's a quality workout because it was hard. And it's like, no, quality workout is you're doing the most amount or the least amount to elicit the most results.
Yeah.
You want to do the least amount of stuff you need to get the most results. And there comes a point where you get diminished your returns when you're going too far. You're going too hard into it. And I think that's something that people need to understand. Now, there is a difference, I will say, caveat between natural lifters and enhanced lifters. So you need to know that as a coach.
Exactly.
You can't just put natty people through the same training program that you do enhanced lifters. Like it's just not going to happen. The natty lifter is just not going to be able to keep up. So you got to be aware of that as a coach, whether or not your athlete is natural or enhanced. Because you talk about two different worlds and how much volume that they can handle over time.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you brought that up because there's there's a couple of coaches that will actually say that natural people people that are natural can actually recover better from higher volumes, whereas people that are more enhanced shouldn't be given more volume, mainly because again for tendon integrity. I don't exactly know if that's the truth.
So that's what like a lot of steroids are really good at. They help you recover.
Yeah.
So you're able to handle it. So like that's one of the things that like higher all these drugs do is they tear your muscles so much faster. It's able to handle so much more load, handle so much more volume. So now the thing is, yes, you are talking about the tendon. Yeah, we do our loads. It's fucking gross. Can you give him you could be supposed to be on the very you can't say stuff like that. We've been talking about loads the whole time. Yeah, so that's what I was. The tendon part is important because the fact that you are on, especially on certain substances, you can gain so much strength over a short amount of time that your tendons can't keep up. So that's where that focusing on tendon strengthening is important when on certain substances, because especially like Trent is notorious for. I mean, it does some other things that do cause some of the tendons to get weaker. But the big thing is that you get so strong in a short amount of time that's when your tendons are like, hey, I'm not keeping up here. You're getting too strong for me. So that's where you get in that danger of injury. Then you do need to do stuff to make sure your tendons are staying strong. But no, but you can add more load on enhanced lifters over time, way more than you can natural. It's a lot harder to recover from heavy hard workouts or high volume workouts. That's why natural bodybuilders are half the size of advanced bodybuilders because of how much more volume they're able to push into their body because of the substances.
Now, I will say too, though, at the same time, is that understand though that when it comes to hypertrophy blocks, when it comes to trying to push to get bigger size, the most important thing that you could do is let me retract that. The worst thing you could do is assume that just because you're doing the workouts means that you're doing everything you can to actually elicit everything that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that the volume work, the workout itself, that's a good percentage of what you're supposed to do. But if you're not eating, if you're not sleeping, and if you're not actually taking the time to actually de-stress and do the things that truly will actually elicit a good parasympathetic response, it's not you're not going to get as much out of it that you would want, right? During those times with hypertrophy blocks, you kind of want to push food just a little bit. You know what I mean? Be in a little bit of a surplus. And then also too, it's during those times you want to really try and dial in your sleep. Remember, understand, anyone can become good at powerlifting. Anyone. I stand really, anyone can become good at this. It's not like, and there's a reason why powerlifting is not like football or soccer or any of that stuff, because there's certain athletic qualities that come into those sports.
Yeah, you don't just wake up one day and be able to run 4.240.
Exactly. There was one story I heard. Someone told me that there was like a well over 300-pound man running a 40 yard dash. Like,
yeah, a lot of these now current NFL guys, like they're 300 pounds running like a 4.40.
That's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. Those are the big men. Jets. Those are they're doing guys.
Yeah,
they're doing guys. That's what they are. But what I'm trying to say is that
powerlifting, it doesn't take a certain genetic makeup to be able to be good at squatting or benching, deadlifting.
Exactly.
Like that's something everybody can kind of naturally do. Should be able to naturally.
Exactly. Biggest thing the reason why I'm saying that is because so long as you eat what you're supposed to, eat right, sleep the way that you're supposed to, recover as best as you possibly can, and my God, just stay consistent over a period of time. Because there's a reason why people end up leaving powerlifting after 2 years, right? Why do you think?
Yeah, they stop progressing. They're only hitting your numbers, so they're like, who's stupid?
They get bored,
Yeah.
right? They get bored. It's not as fun anymore. Like you said, they're not hitting any new numbers and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where it's like every year I compete. Like I said before, I only compete once a year. Every year I compete, I tend to PR something. But I mean, like take for instance, I didn't PR on a bench. Actually, I went down on the bench, and that's because of stuff that I needed to address. So, is it frustrating? Absolutely. And that's what I'm trying to tell people is that that's the joy of this.
Yeah.
Now it gives me an even bigger direction of really like, oh, okay, I can do this out. And then once I have that out, I can only imagine what I'm going to be able to lift after that. The discipline of dialing everything in and getting everything. Because like you might not see it within the first hypertrophy block, because one block is what, 4 weeks long?
Yeah.
You're not going to see a lot.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, man, for any of you guys that are fucking anime fans, it's kind of like in Soul, right? It's an anime I was just watching. At the beginning of the anime, the main character, he doesn't have anything. When he finally gets the chance to be able to get the power that he wants, it's a slow build. It's a slow build. But then towards the middle of the show, he's the guy. You know what I mean? In a sense, that's how your training needs to be. In a sense that at the beginning, you're not going to see a whole lot out of it.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you'll start to see it. It'll trickle in. One day you're going to be like, oh man, here we go. It's 308 again. And I'm not going to be able, oh, that went up real easy.
Yeah.
Oh crap.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I was like, people ask me like, oh, how did I get big like you? I'm like, 10 years of consistent training, diet, exercise, you know. It's like you got to do this for 10 years straight to build something. Like there are a few out there who tend to like just transform crazy fast, but like for most people, it's a daily grind. Doing it every day, showing up. You know, one day you're gonna wake up, you got 20 charts.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm fucking saying. Well, it's because I'm gonna say right now, my first competition in powerlifting was 2017. But I started strength training back in like 2014. And I competed in my first strongman competition in 2015. Right? So I've been like slowly chipping away at strength and being, working out and being strong since I was 24 years old. Ever since 2015. I didn't start becoming competitive really till like 2021, 2022. And that's years of getting under a bar and just doing the thing. And it's like, and if that doesn't motivate you guys, just remember, I'm better than you. Be better than me. That's not hard. It's not hard. It's not hard. Be better than me. You guys can. You have the potential. Be better than me. Yeah. And it, trust me.
Well, Aristotle says you are the results of your daily habits.
Exactly.
So, choose those daily habits and you can choose who you want to be.
Exactly. As so long as you don't do what I do, which is eat quesadillas and watch TV. Yeah, but dude, I had a quesadilla today. It was great.
I had the red cheese.
Did you really?
Red cheese.
I think tomato. Wait, did you get tomato soup?
Yeah. I had a protein shake. But I don't know. There was some protein in there. Was like carbs and fats.
There's this coach called his name is Davey Junko. Really good, solid content creator and coach. Too, so we can tap him in it. But he said a couple things that he was like, he was like, oh, I hate if it fits your macros. When he said that, I was like, damn, dude, yeah, I do too. I really do. Because it's like technically, if I really want to, cheesecake can fit my macros. But Lord help me, my psychology is like, if I have one piece of cheesecake, I'm eating the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of the psychological effects that you get. But also, you know, they're not the calories are created equal. Like they are technically, but long run, not so much. You know,
I agree.
sugar is very different than a carbohydrate,
Yeah.
like a complex carbohydrate, and how your body utilize it. Like that's just the reality. So you're getting all of your carbohydrates from sugar. You're probably going to have some issues in the long run. Whereas if you're eating potatoes, rice, that stuff, probably a little bit better for you in the long run.
I have to agree with that. I also do too. I also agree that not all the calories are. What did you say?
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, man.
Man, but on the flip side of it, they have done studies where like people have done these instances where I think I've seen some where the guy ate like a shit ton of donuts every day, and because his calories were in a deficit, he still lost weight.
Yeah.
So that insulin, but I think long term, I think that's not a sustainable thing. Like a short term, 30 days, like you did it, okay, you can get away with it. But long term, I think that's going to have a lot of damage on your body because of like how your insulin then reacts to all that sugar.
It's also too. It's like a lot of that stuff in my opinion, a lot of that processed stuff is going to kind of like it. There's no substance to it. In the words of Nacho Libre, there's no nutrients, right? There's no nutrients. Right. So like, so take for instance, yeah, you can survive with nothing but spaghettios and fucking donuts, right? And still lose weight if you track it right and do it right.
Mm-hmm.
However, what most people don't know is that like with potatoes, you got a really big thing of potassium in there, which is really good for you. You got in spinach, you have a lot of K2D3, which is great for your heart. You know, a lot of fiber in both potatoes and those. So now your cholesterol is in track now just because you're eating a little bit better from there. I mean, white rice in itself, some say has like a really big effect on like insulin sensitivity and stuff like that. But I have, outside of fruit, I have yet to find a carbohydrate that's fast acting and gives me enough energy as rice, white rice. So I agree with that. So we went off on a tangent, but
Did you want to get into our milk bust out?
yes,
Milk bust.
because this goes into this goes,
busting.
yeah, we're busting fat myths, dude. But this goes into what so this goes into what we were just talking about earlier, which was that you have a lot of the Westside guys that were that though they pushed mass moves, mass and stuff like that, and then you have a lot more powerlifters that are getting more and more. They look more and more bodybuilding ready than anything, and the reason why that is because a lot of that implements some sort of cardiovascular. And
The dirty C word.
yeah,
Fucking dirty C word.
now a lot of people, especially like in the powerlifting world, and newer powerlifters, just saying, or even just in general on social media, there's this huge thing where it's like, you don't do fucking cardio. You don't do cardio. You'd be surprised how much faster you recover, how much better your lifts will move, not to mention how much better your health markers will look if you just do 1.5 to 2 hours of cardio a week.
Yeah,
A week, right?
that's an old
For me, I do. For me, on my end, I do 2 circuit training days a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and then every day that I train, I do 20 minutes on the Stairmaster before I go to train.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you, one, it's been able to, I dropped from walking around at 283, I'm 275 now. So just that in general.
Yeah.
But let's look at it on a performance, right?
Because I was going to say that's a big part of the myth we wanted to bust all over everybody is that cardio does not take away from your strength.
It does. And actually, in a performance standpoint, I actually pushed cardio fairly well going into competition. And what did it do? It helped me recover faster, and it helped me stay on top of my game throughout the whole day. Because a powerlifting meet is a whole day thing. You know, you have to be able to survive not just three max squats. Survive
Warm-up squats.
Exactly. You got warm up to your bench presses, then you got to do your bench press. Warm up to your top set deadlift, and then you have to go onto the platform and do your deadlifts and stuff. But it's like, throughout the day, you're constantly moving weight. If you don't have the cardiovascular health to be able to handle that, you will see your numbers tank. And hence the reason why, and I will say this is something that Jen told me, was because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't paying attention during my time in competition, but at the ABS meet, there were lifters that were going and dropping their openers because they could not keep up.
Yeah, because the pace, they're all scared of it because they're like, oh, I'm not in shape for that.
Exactly. Because not all meets, like calories, not all the meets are created equal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have like
he had 4 flights. He was in flight D. Dude, at one point, I
took like an hour and a half, 2 hours between lifting.
Exactly. There were a bunch of different mishaps too, so there was a lot of bit of waiting in between each one. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were doing like small 5-10 minute breaks before each flight. So there was a lot of time to recover. Yeah, but you never know what you're gonna walk into on a meet day. But when it comes down to it, the more in shape you are, the better ability for you to be able to recover. Mm-hmm. But it'll also allow you to be able to. It'll allow you to be able to utilize your oxygen a lot better to be able to lift at your maximum potential. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. If you're fucking sucking air at the top of your third squat, and it's a set of 6. Well, buddy. Yeah, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. No, yeah. I've neglected my cardio for a while because I had to do it for many years, and I don't want to do it anymore. Damn it! Don't trust me. But it does. Like you do notice that. Like I noticed it a lot. Like since I haven't been doing as much as I used to, I can't train as hard as I used to be able to. So I used to be able to just go in the gym and do 2 hours, but like nonstop. Yeah. Whereas now I have 2 hours, but like there's a lot of stopping in between. So that's definitely something that I know personally I need to work on to get back to where I want to be at the level I want to be at. You got to do some cardio. I do stay pretty active most of the time, most of the day active. But there's definitely different levels to this. So I have actually started running a little bit, a couple times a week. Really? Yeah, not really. Like I'll do like 10 minutes on an incline walk. Yeah, and then for the last 4 or 5 minutes, I'll do a jog run. I really went into so, so I also look at it as a skill that I want to get back to, be able to do, to be able to run. Oh yeah, because it's also a skill. There's a skill to it, and I look at it as if shit were to hit the fan, I need to be able to have the ability to move if I need to for an extended period of time, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, shit hits the fan and I can't do shit because I'm out of shape. Like exactly. So that's how I look at cardio as to why I want to do it. But also, yes, there's a lot of benefits to it, and it won't mess up your strength training as long as you aren't going and like destroying yourself before you go to lift. Exactly. So that's the key. I think we need to address it with cardio is like, yeah, you don't want to go and like
do 30 minutes on a treadmill hard, and then go and do your main lifts.
Exactly.
I'm going to take away from this in that aspect. But if you do it post workout, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Or you do it like at a separate time. Perfectly fine. You're not messing with your list in any way, shape, or form. And like we said, it's actually going to help you get better because you're able to recover faster. That means you can work out harder. And so you're going to get better over time with cardio and your training.
Exactly. So on a health standpoint, like I could never do my circuit trainings before I go and lift. I'm sorry. Like, unless you're gymnast of the body, you're not, I don't know. But with that being said, on a cardiovascular standpoint, with two sessions of fairly intense cardio and then an hour and a half to 2 hours of full cardio throughout the week, you will see benefits in not just your heart health, in your artery health, but also in your blood pressure. And for if you are a fairly heavy power lifter like I am, blood pressure is a huge thing. If you lift weights and you're enhanced, by the way, blood pressure is a huge thing. So there's that. Also, too, you will notice that with the amount of cardio that you're doing, it's like I was just saying, you can recover a lot better and work out harder and train harder. And you will also see with better cardio, you will also see an increase in your sleep quality. So in a sense, the more cardio, the better cardiovascularity that you want, the better sleep that you're going to be getting. And what's one way that you can grow? Through your sleep.
Yeah, because if your heart rate is always at like 85, because you're out of shape, even when you're laying down, if your heart rate's like just going through the roof, it's going to affect your sleep. But if you're in really good shape and your heart rate's down to 55, 60 when you lay down, you're probably not going to have any issues falling asleep.
Exactly.
Because you're actually able to rest and you actually have to calm down.
Exactly. So there are many things that you can do. It doesn't have to be something that it doesn't have to be running. Right? Running is something, exactly. So running is a skill that you're trying to learn.
Yeah.
Or trying to get back to.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm actually, especially if you're a big guy, probably running is probably going to take away from your lifting fight. It's going to hurt you. Your knees are going to plus up or something because as a bigger person, running has a lot of impact on the body. So
I've been doing sprints on the treadmill.
Yeah,
Dude.
Yeah,
Dude. Yeah, dude. And also too, so I will say this. If you go to any normal gym, when I say normal, I say like an EOS or any other Planet Fitness, whatever. If you go there, you lift anything above 400 pounds, people stop and look, right?
Yeah.
But you need to get people to stop and look at you while you're at a powerlifting gym or something like a hardcore gym.
Yeah, go running.
Running a treadmill. My God, do you know how many people stopped and just looked at me? Dude, I remember when I was doing my, it's part of my circuit. It's a minute of, it's like a minute of walking and then a minute of full out, as much sprint. And Reed was right there and he just goes, fuck yeah. But it's the truth. It's awesome being able to run, dude. It's like, dude, running is a lot of fun. I really don't. But what I was trying to say also too, because I want to go back to this one little part. It was you don't want to do cardio and all that stuff prior to you going this because it'll take away from your lifting. Now, a way to mitigate that is after you get done doing something that's fairly hard, like a hard cardio base, whereas I will say I would not recommend it, but it's the same problem that I was running into in a sense that when I started doing cardio, I tried to do it in the morning, but now I'm at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, okay, I'll just do it after I get done training. Well, I get done training, I come home, I get my stuff done. I don't do any type of cardio. So I've succumbed to doing it right before I go and train.
Yeah.
What I do is have some sort of carbohydrate or B type drink or anything that's going, and then before I go and I use that time of me getting warmed up and mobilizing. It's the reason why last month was mobilizing. I use that time to really let the carbs take into effect, because what cardio in itself does is it depletes your muscles, your muscle glycogen and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just replenish.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the big thing. You can physically replenish. Yeah. It won't necessarily take away if you are able to get some sort of carbohydrate in you. And that would be a caveat to be able to do it beforehand.
Yeah.
If, like in your case, you're not able to.
Mind you, what I will add to that though is that you probably don't want to do it all the time.
Yeah, like you're probably, when you're going to go to like attempt a PR or your squat, you probably can do it beforehand.
Also, too, if you're doing hard cardio and then going and trying to go balls to the wall in the weight room, it's not sustainable, right? It's the same thing as trying to stay peaked throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
But you have rest days. Rest days are the perfect time to go do some hard, intense cardio.
Exactly.
Or also have your secondary lift days. The secondary lift days would be another great day to do cardio because it's not going to be as challenging as a primary lift day. Stuff like that. So you can absolutely work it in, and you only need a couple, 3 days of cardio added into your training schedule to get all the benefits of cardio.
Exactly.
So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for you to do and not affect your big lifts.
Exactly. What I would say is that to kind of wrap that portion up is add in some like once or twice a week, add in somewhere where you can do some sort of intense workout, and it could be anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes long. And then for your hour and a half to 2 hours of cardio throughout the week, I do steady state, steady state low impact cardio, which is Stairmaster for me. Do a Stairmaster for 20 minutes before I go in, whatever. I'll tell you that just that in itself is going to help with blood pressure. It's going to help with sleep quality. It's going to help with your ability to recover between sets. It's going to help you be able to utilize your oxygen a lot better, so that this way you're not stuck in air by the time you're to wrap up whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. There's obviously there are things that you need to mitigate, and there are things that you need to take into consideration before you go into actual training and stuff.
And the other thing you could do to combine cardio and some hypertrophy, do some HIIT training too. Just lift weights really fast. And it'll get you the same exact. I love programming out some HIIT workouts for people. But it's another way to cardio, lifting weights. Push-ups or something, or like some sort of other, kettlebell swings or something. Do that, and that'll get your heart rate going.
I will tell you that circuit training that Janessa has been putting me through.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say putting me through, has been fortunately being given to me.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and you know what? I stand by it. I'm glad because it has helped me so much, not just in a cardiovascular sense, moving sandbags and doing very like various odd type of lifts has made me not just strong in the gym, but just like also too like strong in everyday functional life. Me having to move patients has been so much easier.
Yeah.
You'll notice too, the more cardio that you do, or at least the better you are cardiovascular wise, you're going to feel as tired throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't, but take that with a grain of salt. Take that with you. Do you have anything else you want to fucking stay hydrated. Drink electrolytes too. My God, I completely forgot about that. If you're going to be doing a strength cardio prior to actually training, you need to replenish your electrolytes. You're going to be sweating, so your sodium and your sodium levels, your potassium and magnesium levels. So sweat that out. You'll be sweating that out. So a good thing to do is either get yourself an element packet or the trial salts that you would get from Amazon. I personally do not like liquid IV. I don't think there's enough of it.
I mean, probably for the average person, that's good.
Yeah.
But we're athletes. Athletes.
Yeah.
We're athletes, so we special.
Yeah. So a good, and especially because I've been there where I've been like doing some parkour, like doing some movement and squatting and all that stuff, and then I go over to go do some fucking hamstring curls and cramp almost immediately after I do my first rep.
Yeah, close. Yeah, I usually do about 2 packets of the electrolyte stuff every day, and that usually keeps me pretty anti-crampy.
Yeah.
Back to your buddy.
I just barely got into this thing where my hamstrings are no longer cramping when I do hamstring curls. Beforehand, I would do some hamstring curls and you want to just sit there
and stop me out, stretch it out.
That's what I'm saying. Have you ever seen me? You saw me do it.
Well, yeah, but I've gone through it too. I've gone through phase where it's like, no matter what you do, it's just like, all right, we'll do a set, and it's just like, fuck, all right, let me stretch this fucker out because it's cramping.
I hate it so much, man. I'll be sitting there just trying to push it, and the next thing you know, my leg goes. I need it. The worst is if it's not hamstring. I'll like when I first really started training core.
You can get,
Yeah.
fucker, hurt. Yeah, so bad. There was a stretch I was getting it. I don't know why, but every time I get done working out and I go to get in my car, my abs would cramp up as I was trying to get in the car. So like, I'm not getting done. Even I jumped out. I'll be just stretching out.
And then you try and get it,
crank right back out.
Well, the worst to me is like you'll be in bed and you're about to go to sleep and you're like, oh, this is right. So you go like try to shift over. So you bridge, and the moment you bridge, and your hamstring.
Dude, I guess I'm not going to sleep.
Heart rate's back. By the way, but yeah, anything else?
No, that's it for the topics. I just want to say, hey, we got YouTube going. We go check us out on YouTube.
Give us a subscription.
That's like 8. Well, I'm trying to post more in there, as well as Instagram, put out the shorts and everything, different clips. I think we're going to do some more maybe instructional videos as well there.
Yes.
So we're going to get a lot more information onto these channels. So please subscribe so that you can see when it comes out. Help us grow, help us build. We don't pay for anything.
Yeah.
We're trying to build this organically. We're trying to build this through helping out everybody out there. So we're giving you guys free information. So help us out by subscribing, liking our stuff, sharing it out, because we want to grow and help more people.
Yes. And again, we want to say thank you all for listening, for being a part of this whole journey, and
for being some awesome meatheads.
Thank you all.
Shut the fuck up.
No. Thank you again for supporting us, for helping us out, and as always, fucking stay meaty.